Pattern breakers, I need y'all to be honest with yourselves. The mess on Summer House is not just Bravo drama, it's a case study. And the headline is simple. Wes and Amanda confirmed they are exploring a relationship. What the fuck? But the real reason the internet started acting like it was a courtroom is because the subtext is loud. The subtext is Ciara is the one people expect to be calm, mature, unbothered, and above it all. And if she's not, then suddenly she's bitter. She's doing too much. She's jealous and she's still stuck. And that right there, that is not new. We've seen this time and time again. Welcome back to Blk By Design. I'm your host, Will on the mic, and I'm breaking down Black history with a little bit of sass and a whole lot of shade. Today, we're going to use the Summer House love triangle to talk about a very old blueprint. How disrespect towards Black women gets normalized, and then Black women get punished for naming it. But first, we have to do some quick housekeeping. If you like this kind of conversation, subscribe wherever you listen. If you're on YouTube, like, comment, and become a pattern breaker by hitting that subscribe button and notification bell so you never miss a single episode. And then send this episode to the friend who always says it's not that deep, because it is. Now, I know that this is something new for Blk By Design, and I'm so excited. This is the first episode of Black to Reality, which is going to be my segment in which I talk about pop culture, Bravo stuff, anything that has to do with like reality TV, it's going to be Black to Reality. Because I think there is a space to talk about this on the pod, and I'm so excited. All right, so let's set the table. On March 31st, Amanda Batula and Wes Wilson posted a joint statement confirming they are exploring a romantic connection, aka they've been hooking up. I think that's what the kids say these days. They said they didn't intend to hide anything, and that because the dynamics are so complicated, and because reality TV comes with scrutiny, they wanted space to process privately before speaking out. Now, why are these dynamics so complicated? Well, that's because Wes used to date Ciara Miller, and Ciara and Amanda have been close friends. Oftentimes on the show have called each other best friends. But apparently in reality TV language, best friends can sometimes mean alliances if we're talking about the show. So shout out to Carlos King for letting us know that part. I didn't know that. I really thought they was actual friends because, I guess over the years, because you're filming with them, you become friends. But apparently I guess best friends on shows like this just means an alliance. Who would have known? So when that statement goes out, the fans didn't read it like, oh my God, there's a new couple announcement. They read it like, so y'all been shady and y'all been moving in silence. Oh, y'all messy. Oh, that's how y'all get down. Okay. And immediately after that, the discourse shifts from are they dating to how does Ciara find out and how does Ciara feel about this? I know my reaction was like, what the fuck? I'm Team Ciara. Fuck these other people. What's happening over there? I know Wes did not just screw Ciara over again. And then I was really shocked with Amanda. I remember where I was when this happened. I was sitting at my desk and I just happened to scroll my timeline and all of this stuff was happening. Rumors, all of this. And I couldn't function. It's like, what the hell is happening? Why is Wes again doing some nonsense? And then Amanda did not expect Amanda to be the one to backstab Ciara. Honestly, did not. And quite frankly, I didn't know that was going to be this enthralled in the Summer House drama. I really didn't. I'm actually really proud of myself because this is new. Maybe because they have 3 Black castmates on the show. I think that's probably why I'm liking it. Just no shade. But again, from there, it got messy really fast. Coverage noted that Ciara seemingly unfollowed both of them. And we have to remember, in 2026, the unfollow is basically the modern version of a door lock. It's not violence, it's not chaos, but it is a boundary. Now here's the thing, Carl is a mess. I just wanted to throw that out there so people know. But secondly, did Amanda not think that her hooking up with Wes or her dating Wes, whatever situationships, whatever it was, wasn't going to be a problem? Like, I'm not understanding. I mean, I am Team Ciara regardless, but still, did they not understand what they were doing and the repercussions of their decisions and the repercussions of their actions? Did they not get that piece? I'm not sure. The statement says, we didn't mean to hide it. But the internet heard, that's messy, y'all not real friends, and that's fucked up. And honestly, I have to agree with the internet. This is one of the few times where I'm actually agreeing with the internet. Because we know, sometimes the internet, they be strong and wrong. And that's why the comments were, and still are, hence my emergency episode of talking about this drama, are on fire. And I have to say, the cast reactions to the news, Child, those reactions, they will go down as some of the best reaction photos ever. Shout out to the cast of Summer House because those reactions were great. Now let's talk about that discourse though, because the internet quickly took sides in this scandal. And surprisingly, the internet was on Team Ciara. And rightfully so. I think this is one of the first times at which I saw the internet chose the right person. And it just so happened that the right person in this love triangle and this situationship was the black girl. And I love that for us. I love that for Ciara. Like, Ciara is winning. So who said it? Get on the winning team, ho. Like, shout out. Because that's exactly what you gotta do. Now, it's also funny because this statement comes off the heels of an episode in which we saw Ciara, KJ, and Mia talk about race. And I have to say, it was a really great conversation because for once, the white people in the room, they just stood quiet and they listened. And I do know there is going to be a handful of people who are going to come in my comments for this video saying, why does everything have to be about race? And honestly, 9 out of 10 times, those people are white. And so we have to be honest with ourselves. And I know I have to be honest with all the pattern breakers on this channel and on this pod. Because when you're white in America, it's pretty easy to have blinders on and not fully understand why race always has to be a topic of discussion. For example, Kyle mentioned that he can pop off on the show at any time because he has a temper. And quite frankly, the fans of the show they just brush it off like that's Kyle just being Kyle. But I guarantee you, if KJ did that, there will be calls for him to be removed from the show. On that same episode, KJ did say that he has second-guessed himself and second-guessed every movement that he was making and every action that he was taking because he wanted to show up. Mia joined in and she said, every black person, like black brothers, I have to say this, like we all sit down at one point of our lives to talk about how we have to show up in public. There's different conversations and different ways for the black girls in the family and the black boys in the family, but we all have a conversation about how to represent ourselves when we're out because we can't be seen as aggressive. We can't be seen as a threat, even if we're not. And that's a conversation for a different day, but I love that they talked about that on the show because it does mean something. Because the double standard exists and it is real. But we also saw that Ciara was vulnerable and she said the breakup with Wes was bad because she got hit with the racial aspect of that decision. People wanted to know why she let that white man play her. And I mean, that's a valid question because look at Ciara. And in no shade, look at Wes. Something gotta be big because, pause. I'm just saying, something gotta be big here because we can't be just throwing ourselves on this. Like, it has to be big. I'll let y'all decide what I'm talking about. But something gotta give because why everybody going, like, really? I don't know. I guess. I guess opposites attract. I guess there's somebody there for everybody. I don't know. But it's the math ain't mathin'. I need y'all to help me. What's happening? Drop in the comments why y'all think they keep going up for Wes because I don't understand. I don't get it. But yet, we have another example of Wes playing in her face. Now, don't get me wrong. All 3 of these people are adults. And adults, you can date whoever you want. And on paper, sure, that makes sense. But why do you not have any regard to how Ciara feels in this situation and what the backlash would be for her? We've already seen what the backlash was prior when Wes and Ciara were in a relationship and what happened after their breakup. We saw how the internet received it and what happened from there. We actually had a whole season of them not talking and they had to get back together and build a friendship. Now the current season is a little awkward in the beginning because they had to, they're working with kid gloves trying to get back some kind of semblance of a friendship. So we see that the backlash sometimes will be racial when it's pointed to Ciara. So I don't understand why Amanda would put herself in that situation, especially after everyone saw how Ciara was there for her and her situation currently on this season with Kyle and what they're going through and all the nonsense that he's putting her through. Ciara is being a really great friend to Amanda. Why would Amanda do this to Ciara? Now, what I also want to note here is that Wes on the show can seem to figure out if he wants to be a fuckboy or if he wants to be in a relationship. Some episodes we have him trying to be a fuckboy, right? And then other episodes we have him trying to love on Ciara. But all of a sudden he can make a decision with Amanda to be with Amanda and for them to release a joint statement. So what is it? Because the math, in my opinion, is not mathing. Is it that you didn't want a relationship or you didn't see it for the black girl? In my opinion, Wes is the problem. Because the most consistent pattern in these triangles is a man gets to float between people, cause drama, cause damage, and then everybody argues about which woman is handling it right. So, yes, I am looking at Wes like, why are you orbiting a friendship group you already disrupted? But the bigger point here is that reality TV becomes a morality play. And then the moment it becomes a morality play, the fandom starts assigning roles. And guess who gets assigned the role of be classy and shut up? You guessed it, the black woman. And that's not a coincidence, that's culture. Now, Kyle did do an interview on the street, which is where the line "Carl's a mess" comes from. So shout out to the people who know. And also shout out to Carl because we love Carl. But in that same interview, he said that he is worried about Amanda because she has mental health issues. Now, Kyle never brought up Ciara until the interviewer questioned him about how he thinks Ciara is feeling. Now, I get where Kyle is coming from and why he would say he feels bad for Amanda. And that's only because, one, he probably still has feelings for her because I don't think they're fully divorced yet. And also, two, apparently the internet has been bullying Amanda. Now, I do want to say, all because I am Team Ciara, I do not condone anyone getting bullied. I think there is a way for us to state Team Ciara without bullying Amanda. I don't like when the fandom does that. I think we need to do better. But two things can be true at the same time. And that being said, what about Ciara's mental health? Why isn't that a topic of discussion? And why all of a sudden do we always have to shift the narrative to Amanda and noting her not being well? Why we can't focus on the fact of Ciara and what Ciara is feeling and how she's probably not doing well in this situation. So I do want you to see that there's a pattern here. If not, keep following. And speaking of Ciara's mental health, what was her response? Well, Ciara's response was unfollowing, pulling back, and going quiet. She didn't threaten anyone. She didn't go on a press tour. She just removed access. And for some people, that was triggering. Because in this culture, black women are expected to do emotional labor for everyone. They're expected to be understanding, forgiving, flexible, bigger, and mature. And honestly, that's a trap. Because be the bigger person is often code for be the quieter person. Now, if this was anybody else, an unfollow will be a shrug. But because it's Ciara, and because Ciara is a black woman, that story for some people becomes look at her being petty. Not look at Wes and Amanda being sloppy. Look at Wes and Amanda being messy. Nope. And that is how the disrespect stays normalized. Because the spotlight always shifts. Instead of examining the action that caused harm, we examine the harmed person's reaction. We start grading it. Is it calm enough? Is it pretty enough? Is it polite enough? And if it's not, we then withdraw empathy. Which brings me to a Black history parallel. I mean, it is Blk By Design, so did you really think I was just going to come up in here and recap somehow? I mean, come on now. No shade. Like, did you really think that was going to happen? You know, I always have to tie this back to a piece of Black history. It's what I do. It's what we do. That's why you listening to me and you watching this video. And that piece of Black history is that there is a quote from Malcolm X that people love to throw around like it's a caption. But it is not a caption. It is an indictment. Malcolm X said, the most disrespected person in America is a black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the black woman. The most neglected person in America is the black woman. Now, I want you to hear the structure of that sentence. Disrespected, unprotected, neglected. That is a system. Because disrespect by itself is one thing, but disrespect plus no protection, that means the community won't back you. And neglect, that means your pain becomes background noise. So let's translate Malcolm's words into 2026 language for this Wes, Amanda, and Ciara situation. Disrespected means people feel entitled to cross your boundaries. Unprotected means when you say it hurts, the group doesn't rush to cover you. The group rushes to explain the other person. Neglected means the harm becomes a footnote and your reaction becomes a headline. And that's the blueprint. That's how it shows up in the workplace. That's how it shows up in healthcare. That's how it shows up in schools. And yes, pattern breakers, that's also how it shows up in Bravo fandom spaces too. And here's the hard truth. When a black woman asserts a boundary, people call it attitude. When a black woman names disrespect, people call it drama. When a black woman refuses access, people call it petty. But when the disrespect happens, people call it mess. Something fun, something to laugh at. And that's the historical continuation, the pattern. So what do we do with all of this? First, protecting Black women does not mean turning Ciara into the perfect victim. Because the internet loves perfect victims. Perfect victims don't raise their voice. Perfect victims don't say the wrong thing. Perfect victims don't have an edge. And Black women are rarely allowed to be human in public. But here's the real standard. You don't have to like every detail of how a Black woman responds in order to acknowledge that the disrespect was real. Second, we didn't mean to hide it is not the same as we handled it with care. That statement is PR language, and PR language is always trying to do one thing: manage the audience. But relationships are not audience management, and friendships are not brand statements. If you knew it would hurt your friend, you don't get points for eventually saying it out loud. And third, yes, adults can date whoever and whomever. And yes, choices do have consequences. If you choose something that violates a friendship agreement, the friendship agreement changes. So let's answer the question we started with. What happened with Wes, Amanda, and Ciara? And why did the internet blow up? Well, it blew up because it's not just a new friendship. It's a secrecy and loyalty story inside a friend group, where the person most likely to absorb the fallout is a Black woman. And online, people aren't just debating the relationship. They're debating whether Ciara's feelings are allowed to matter. And that debate plugs directly into a long history of Black women being disrespected, unprotected, and then blamed for responding. So the fact that Ciara is not coming out to say anything, it's probably one of the best things that she can possibly do, because the internet is rallying for her and against Amanda and Wes. And I guarantee you, if she would have said something, the internet would have quickly victimized Amanda, and she would have been the center of the story. And they would have gave her a narrative of Ciara is just being petty and Ciara is just being messy. So I'm happy that Ciara is doing this so that the internet can all be Team Ciara, because that is the right team. Now, I do want to hear from you. What's the line in your life between people can do what they want and you moved with zero regard for me? Drop in the comments, because I promise you, everybody has an example. This has been Blk By Design. Until next time, stay sharp and protect the culture.